Are you tired of being called lazy because you have ADHD? If so, join the club. Miss one deadline or leave a task half done and suddenly that word gets thrown at you from all angles. Let me ask you something. Is it really accurate or fair to call someone with ADHD lazy? Not even close. That label's really dead wrong for us, and even worse, it's seriously holding you back. Let's understand why. So why is lazy the go-to label for ADHD behaviour? Honestly, it mostly stems from a massive lack of understanding. The majority of neurotypical people needed a quick word to sum up how people work, and for us they reached for words like lazy and scatterbrained and disorganised. But these words come with some really heavy baggage that paints an unfair and inaccurate picture. When that lazy label gets slapped on you, it stings pretty deep because lazy carries an implication that you just don't really care. You don't give a damn, that you're somehow squandering your skills and potential because you can't muster the willpower to apply yourself. But here's the truth, ADHD brains are wired in a totally different way, and those labels don't make sense for us. Tasks that feel like a walk in the park for a neurotypical person can feel like summiting Everest for you, no matter how badly you want to conquer them. You're not unmotivated. You're not lazy. How has this impacted me? Well, flashback to an early part of my career as a project manager, and part of my core job was updating insanely intricate Gantt charts mapping out every micro step of a project, and I'd rather have bamboo shoots stuck under my nails. Even though it was a crucial responsibility, my ADHD brain recoiled from it with every fibre of its being. If that scenario hits painfully close to home, you really are a card-carrying member of the ADHD club. Certain to-dos really are exponentially more difficult for our differently wired brains in a way that most neurotypical people just can't really wrap their heads around. It's not a simple matter of willpower or work ethic for us. When your ADHD brain deems something insufficiently interesting or rewarding, you can't just muscle through it. So if you perpetually find yourself procrastinating or straight up avoiding specific types of tasks, take a pause and genuinely ask yourself, is it because I'm a lazy person, or is it because my ADHD brain is not remotely built for this? Put my money on the latter any day. But here's where labeling yourself as lazy kicks off a toxic domino effect. By internalizing that you're inherently lazy, you start sidestepping challenging tasks like they're literal landmines. And the second someone dares to broach the topic of your productivity shortcomings, you throw your psychological defenses up and promptly derail the conversation. And why is that? It's because lazy is so diametrically exposed to your core identity and values, you can't bear to let the association stand. But at the same time, you maybe don't know what the problem even really is. When you shut down these conversations in a huff of defensiveness, you never really get to the meat of genuinely addressing your productivity obstacles. You're ensnared in an endless loop, feeling lazy when you fall short on a task, flying into defensive mode to ward off the stigma, and ultimately never untangling the root of your challenges. It's the most unproductive of all catch-22s. Plus, branding yourself with the scarlet letter of laziness plunges you into a topic either-or mentality. You start seeing tasks in a stark black and white. Either you can effortlessly complete it, or you're a helpless lazybones. That rigid thinking extinguishes the creative problem-solving and strategic thinking that are actually the hallmark of ADHD people and one of our superpowers. You throw in the towel and resign yourself to the label rather than hunting for innovative approaches tailored to your brain's specification. Let's say that again because it's so important. If you write yourself off as just lazy, you box yourself into two equally demoralizing options. White knuckling your way through a task you'd rather lobotomize yourself than do, or embracing supposed laziness and permanently throwing in the towel. Spoiler alert, neither of these paths lead to fulfillment or success. There's a third way, which we promote here. The key truth you need to marinate in is that ADHD brains are wired to perpetually desire novelty, interest, and reward. Mind-numbing tedious tasks that are devoid of dopamine spiking stimulation, that's our kryptonite. So instead of writing yourself off as lazy when faced with these kryptonite class tasks, it's time to get creative with some ADHD hacks and changes. And if it makes you feel better, remember that neurotypical people have their kryptonites too. They're often less creative and sparky than us, yet we don't demonize them for it. Yet there are ways to help us get through. We can put a few boring tasks into bite-sized chunks with frequent brain breaks to build some dopamine again. We can gamify tasks by linking it to rewards like ticks at mini milestones. We can rope in some body doubling to co-work to keep you accountable. We can outsource things. We can lead hard into the tiny aspects of projects that really do light us up and use that as a springboard. The solutions are out there, but you'll never unearth them if you fling yourself onto the couch of "I'm lazy and all hope is lost." Make it a mission to notice every time you throw that accusation at yourself, and then practice consciously reframing it. Maybe some kind of affirmation like, "This task is friction for my ADHD brain, but I can brainstorm some creative ways to remove the roadblocks." Simply becoming mindful of your negative, lazy talk is a quantum leap forwards. You move from victim to empowerment just with this, and you start to fully solve problems. But how do you actually start embodying the belief that you're not lazy when you've been wearing that label for your entire life? Raw, unfiltered vulnerability. Exposing your ADHD obstacles to the light instead of letting others project their own theories about laziness is the way forward. Proactively let your colleagues, clients, and collaborators know what's up with your brain wiring from the start. I want to give you a heads up that I have ADHD, so some tasks like this and this are going to be difficult and I need more flexibility, like maybe this and this. Or be like me and start saying #ADHD when you don't do something that's difficult for you. Sure, disclosing your neurodivergence can feel vulnerable at first, but here's why it's critical. It nips any lazy assumptions in the bud even before they have a chance to take root. And even better, it flings the door wide open to brainstorming accommodations and strategies in advance instead of waiting until you're drowning. Flashback for me again to the bad old days where I get massively triggered and fly into defensive mode anytime a manager so much as obliquely referenced my productivity. I'd shut down so fast, all because I was drowning in shame and convinced they saw me as a lazy underachiever. I've now done a complete 180. I've made it part of me to proactively name and unpack my ADHD hurdles before anyone's mind can even wander into the "maybe you're just lazy" territory. Head it off before anyone else can get there, which stops me from being a victim. Let me tell you, that level of self-advocacy and ownership was not an overnight transformation now. You've got to walk before you can run, so start with simply noticing your knee-jerk lazy narrative without beating yourself up about it. Then practice mentally overriding it with a reframe. "I'm not lazy, I just have a brain that finds certain tasks draining." Time to change the system. Rinse and repeat with that new neural pathway until it's baked in. You're building new healthy habits here. Then channel your most confident alter ego and start vulnerability voicing your ADHD needs to people. Will it be mildly terrifying at first? Sure. But temporary discomfort is so worth it for the massive ROI of getting people on board with setting you and them up for success. It's the real win-win. Stay ready for those courageous conversations and watch your self-talk start to shift from "I'm lazy fraud destined to fail" to "I'm a self-aware boss who knows my brain and isn't afraid to go and bat for what I need." Now, this process becomes even more mission critical if you're an ADHD entrepreneur who's flown the corporate nest. It's all too easy to slip into an unmotivated fog when you don't have some kind of superior breathing down your neck. You miss one deadline too many and suddenly that lazy label's creeping back into your life. When you're steering the ship as an entrepreneur with ADHD, you've got to captain your own voyage of structuring your work days, negotiating accommodations with clients, and wiring in accountability safety nets. There's no one imposing external guardrails on your productivity, so if you let laziness infiltrate your self-talk unchecked, you're in for a world of entrepreneurial hurt and stress. That's why radical self-belief and self-compassion, anchored in understanding your unique brain wiring, is the whole package. Striving to completely sidestep your ADHD wiring is an exercise in long-term futility. If you endlessly chase neurotypical ideals of minute-to-minute focus and output, you're setting yourself up to feel inadequate forever and always. The real golden win is self-acceptance, getting happy with your atypical neurodiverse quirks, and then structuring your life, work, and relationships around the foundation of neurodiverse realness. It's hard and seems like a never-ending roller coaster maybe, but it's 1,000% more rewarding and sustainable than buying a one-way ticket on the I'm just lazy train. Cultivating brain-based self-awareness, out-of-the-box solutions, and an ADHD positive support squad are non-negotiables for us. So it's time to banish the lazy label to the abyss for good. You've got way better things to do than marinate in that stew of unproductive negativity. Instead, throw on your scientist cap and get curious about what makes your unique brain tick. Take note of which to-dos leave you utterly depleted versus the ones that hijack your focus in the best way. Where does your interest and creative problem-solving zone of genius really lie? Armed with that introspective information, you can construct your bespoke blueprint for ADHD-aligned thinking. And it might look something like this: embracing an unorthodox schedule that rides the waves of your energy peaks and valleys. Maybe experimenting with diet and exercise tweak to hack your dopamine levels, possibly becoming a body doubling fan and working your face off, maybe zeroing in on passion projects and monopolizing your ADHD hyperfocus, and also cultivating a community of ADHD affirming folk who just get it. They're the people that won't call you lazy. Your secret sauce of strategies will look wildly different from others, particularly neurotypical people, and that's not a computer bug, it's a feature. You're not making excuses, you're making empowered choices tailored to your brain's operating system. And from there, you can start to really solve problems rather than getting stuck in a cycle of, I just can't do this. So be loudly proactive in banishing any whisper of lazy talk from your inner critic. Next time you catch yourself sliding into that stale storyline, compassionately flip the script. I'm not lazy, I'm wired different. My success trajectory may be a more scenic route than the shortest distance between 2 points, but I'll get to my destination on my own terms. Let that be your North Star affirmation as you navigate the beautifully complex waters of your ADHD life. You've officially ghosted Lazy Town. Empowerment mode is activated and you've really got this. If you've been nodding along, I've left a link to my 12 executive functions workbook below. It can help you to start with some awareness. And if you want more content like this, feel free to hit like and subscribe. I'll catch you in the next video.